Last year's release of Varlamore Part 3 brought us many beloved updates, such as the Gemstone Crab, Veil Totems, and Doom. What many may not know is that there was also an item released, which no one has obtained yet, a simple purple token. Now, this isn't the first time there have been mysterious tokens in the game. In Varlamore Part 1 and 2, Jagex hid 7 red tokens and 4 nasty tokens, respectively. I won't dive too deep into these, you can find plenty of info online. But the methods for obtaining these tokens were random, to say the very least, and without any hints. For example, one red token was obtained by mining calcified rocks in Cam Torum while playing the music track Scape Main. Another can be found by pickpocketing a specific NPC as they're standing on a specific tile. Not only this, but you can only obtain them on certain days of the week, which is determined by how many characters are in your username. So yeah, this gives a general idea of where Jagex's head is when hiding these items. So how do we know there are these purple tokens in Part 3? Simply put, they're listed in the game's database. There are 5 listed, but we don't know how many there are for sure. The database has 20 red tokens listed despite there only being 7. But if it's anything like the previous sets of tokens, they should definitely be obtainable. However, after 8 months, not one player has been able to get a hold of one. But that doesn't mean no progress has been made. In fact, the community has some pretty solid leads and potential hints. So let's take a look at where we are now in the hunt for the purple tokens. By far, our biggest potential lead is a picnic between a capybara and a hippo. You may have seen them, located by the mahogany trees in southwest Lottie Rainforest. If you sit down on an adjacent tile next to their picnic, the capybara will roll an orange over to you. This isn't an ordinary orange, however. This one can be equipped in your head slot. If you then go ahead and equip it, and then perform the jig emote on one of the 2 marked tiles, you will receive the following message. This was discovered pretty quickly, but it wasn't until early November when a player named A Mimic found 2 more steps beyond that. He discovered that if you have the song Country Jig playing, and if you drop Humphrey Dumphrey on the tile on the opposite side, you will receive slightly different messages, indicating you are impressing the capybara and the hippo even further. I made a complete infographic covering all of the steps and details for this. Check the description for a link. So in short, you must fulfill certain conditions and then perform the jig emote to have the game check to see which have been fulfilled. As it stands, it's theorized that there are 4 conditions total, with one of them still being undiscovered. Here are the examine texts for both the animals and the picnic, as they could also be potential clues. Countless ideas, both obvious and obscure, have been tried in an attempt to find the final requirement. Items, equipment, settings, emotes, and so on. If you could think of it, there's a good chance someone's tried it already. But clearly, there's something we're still missing. Could the final requirement reward us with a token? We'll have to see. But for now, let's look at some other possible leads. There's an eccentric man located in the northern part of Lottie Rainforest. His dialogue is a bit strange, perhaps due to the fact that he sits in the forest reading a dictionary all day. But beyond his dialogue, you can actually use items on him. Almost every item you use will give you the message,
I have little to say on this object. Congratulations on your ownership of it.
However, there are 4 items that give us unique dialogue: rope, stew, birdhouses, and a damp egg. Here's what he says in response to showing him those items. Is there another item he'll comment on? Are these 4 items and his dialogue a hint towards something else? Or is this bizarre NPC just Jagex being Jagex? Alright, I admit it, I lied. The purple token is not the only item that is yet to be obtained. There's also another item that can be seen in the cache right after the purple tokens, a Blueberry Muffin. Now this could be a reward for handing in the tokens. The rewards for the previous tokens were also listed right after them in the cache. But there's still a chance this Blueberry Muffin could be a requirement for obtaining the token. Maybe you need to bring it to the picnic, or show it to Kiyahtla, who knows. But let's take a look at some of the other oddities potentially linked to this muffin. There's another peculiar item released with Final Dawn which you can obtain in the game right now, the Cerula berries. These berries can be picked from bushes located north of the Twilight Temple. As it stands, they have absolutely no use aside from healing 2 hit points when eating them. However, their examine text happens to say, some tasty blueberries. Pretty coincidental knowing that there's also a blueberry muffin waiting to be discovered. Based off the tick timestamp plugin, it is theorized that there's something these berries can be used on. Despite everyone's best efforts though, that something has not been found. To add to the bizarre coincidental nature of this, the cerula berries are found nearby a group of puffins. And what does it say when you examine a puffin? I'd prefer if it were a muffin. Now it's worth noting that puffins and this examine text have been in the game for a while, but still, this is all pretty coincidental, or perhaps just an elaborate red herring, or a blue herring? Now let's get to some oddities that could definitely be related, but aren't as solid of a lead. Found on the far edge of southwest Kiyahtla rainforest, not far from the picnic, is a man named Felix, stranded on a tiny island. When near him, he begins cycling through a monologue about his situation. In fact, he cycles through 3 entire monologues, which I'll link in the description. You're unable to respond to him or do anything else. You're just left to listen to him as he has a breakdown over being stuck on a small island which is only a few tiles away from the shore. Some of his lines are a bit odd, in a riddle-like way, almost as if he's hinting at telling us to perform certain actions, but as of now, nothing can be done with him. There's a variant of these colorful birds whose name I won't even try to pronounce due to fear of YouTube's automation flagging this video. In the area, there are 2 of these birds sitting on rocks who you can attempt to pet. When you do, they will peck at you and damage you for 1 hit point. One is located right next to the statue in Castori, while the other is located far north at the end of the area. According to the cache, there's supposed to be 4 of them total, but it seems like only 2 of them are currently being used. Interestingly, their config name seems to have them labeled based on the direction they're facing rather than their relative position in the forest. Based on this, I tried digging around the area which would intersect their directional paths, but that led to nothing. Could more be done with these birds, or is this just a bit of extra environmental detail? There's an extremely short and unlisted side quest involving 2 NPCs found in Kiyahtla rainforest, Xilo and Fabia. Simply put, they're looking for each other, you speak to each one of them, and they reunite. That's it. No reward, no known purpose. The location of one of the NPCs will permanently move to where the other is, depending on which order you talk to them in. According to the cache, it seems this mini-quest was potentially going to be named Lost Lover. When you consider all the other weird things in the area, it's pretty strange Jagex would add this with absolutely no purpose. 3 written letters have been added to the overworld with the release of Final Dawn. Another example of something that could be world building, or it could be a hint towards something more. The first 2 are related to each other, with one being located in a house in Auburnvale and the other in a building in Sunset Coast. The letter in Sunset Coast is written by Antonia, the dock worker, and addressed to her mom. The one in Auburnvale is addressed to Antonia and written by her grandfather. You can't give these letters to anyone, and there's seemingly no other purpose to them. The 3rd letter is located on the 2nd floor of Sunrise Palace, and it seems to expand upon Final Dawn lore. However, some have theorized that there could be some token hints in this letter. One oddity are the translations of some of the names, such as Third, Watchtower, and Flag. This letter in particular is listed directly before the purple tokens in the cache in terms of its item ID. Yeah, I know, this orange on my head should probably be a tinfoil hat instead, but bear with me as I rapid fire a few of the remaining potential clues. On Gloomthorn Trail, the liminal space between Tau-Teclin and Auburnvale, there are red flowers scattered everywhere. The examine text for these flowers is very nice. The word nice is often associated with the token hunts, with the red tokens leading to a nice key, and a nasty token coming from the nice nest in Alderan. One thing I forgot to mention is that if you sit down at the picnic with the orange on your head, your character says, "This is nice." All the more reason that this is our biggest lead. There's even this new teaser in the shipyard, which examine text mentions it is filled with really nice things, including a purple token. There are 2 odd clues which link to the baker in Civitas. Remember the Blueberry Muffin? Its examine text is a tasty treat that can't be beat. Well, the baker in Civitas happens to say, our baked goods won't be beaten. And do you remember Felix? Based on his clothing, he's from Civitas and happens to mention his baker in one of his monologues. Both of these together might raise a few eyebrows. Along the Veil Totems route, there are these spirit offerings that you can offer items to for prayer points. A bit odd, but likely not too relevant. There are even some bits of potential Morse code around the area, but not much has come from that. However, Jagex made a recent Instagram post mentioning some of their old Easter eggs, which included Morse code puzzles. and they explicitly said that some are yet to be discovered. And that's pretty much the gist of where things stand. Let me know in the comments what some of your theories are. For all we know, the solution could be something completely random and unrelated to these, but I'd like to think we're on the right track in one way or another. Perhaps a JMod can leave a cryptic comment on this video letting us know. Surely. If you'd like to help out with the token hunt, come and join the Crack the Clue Discord server. I'll leave a link in the description. Thank you all for watching.